Okay. Hi, Rosemary. Thanks for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Hi, well, my name is Rose. Um, Pretty much everybody just knows me as Rose DF online, and I'm an astronomer who's pretty obsessed with the moon for very like complex reasons from my childhood. But that's pretty much it. I don't think there's much. I mean, I think I'll have a lot to say, but I don't think we have the time to cover it.
Well, could you tell me a little bit, maybe just some of the things that come to your mind about what fascinates you about the moon?
Um, well, I mean, growing up in the Caribbean, one of the things is I didn't have like education or anything when I was little. And so like I had no idea what the moon was, but it was such a big feature in the sky. And I kind of became a little bit obsessed with it. And so we had these things like we had blackouts almost every other day when I was growing up. And so the moon was basically all the light that you saw. And that was just my thing. I would just see it every night and look at it, trying to figure it out. Sometimes I would ask people questions, but people didn't really know, like, people had their own ideas of what it was, which was more attached to the way astronomy used to be seen by our elders and things like that, where, it's a type of power or is this or is that. Like, I never really got an actual scientific explanation of what this big, beautiful thing was. And so that basically started my whole obsession with space. It was the moon, and I've always been very much in love with the moon, even to this day, because I think it gets really underappreciated. So,
Yeah, I'm kind of curious in your thoughts. You mentioned growing up in the Caribbean and having blackouts where the moon was such a big force in your life. And when I look at like, a lot of cities today where they're lit 24/7, most people are doing indoor activities, and you really don't have that same situation set up where people are going outside and just staring at the sky and wondering what's up there. I, it seems to me that a lot of our interest in the past about astronomy and space had been driven from that personal connection that looks to me to be kind of disappearing. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
it's funny because now sometimes I take out my telescope. I have this small telescope, one of a few, and I use it to, get a closer look when I want to take photos of the moon. And that's one of my favorite things to do. And I notice the reaction that people get. You see the moon out there all the time. You figure people look up, they pay attention, but you have the telescope out and people are passing by and they ask you what you're doing and you say, oh, just, I'm just looking at the moon, take a look. And when they see it up close, it just, you can see it in their eyes and their reactions. It's almost like they realize for the first time that the moon is there, even though they've seen it. It's just because they never actually stopped to look at it, or they get so amazed by the features and everything. And it's like I love that. I love that reaction because I live in one of the busiest cities. I'm in Manhattan, in New York City, and people don't really look up. And when you do, you see buildings most of the time. So you tell people to look up at the moon, and the reactions that you get is like, so I love it.
Uh, that is awesome. Yeah, sometimes just a little personal experience is good. I imagine if we did a similar type of exercise with the sun and had like a solar telescope, people would be like, whoa, it's not just a yellow ball sitting in the middle of everything.
They will freak out. Yes, like I mean, that even happens to me when I see some of the friends that I have, or the astrophotographers that do solar photography, and they show any changes or anything at all. And this, like, it's just, this stuff is amazing. I don't see how anyone will look at any of this and not just be completely blown away.
Absolutely. Well, so I guess you were probably one of the first people to know that NASA was planning to send astronauts back to the moon since 1972.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah. It's
remember
just it's
when and how you found out?
Well, it just became part of my institution, Arizona State University. We get emails. Pretty much, they handle a lot of NASA missions and stuff like that. So like I come across this kind of information pretty quickly. And then my friends and pretty much all the people that I know now in my life, that's also why I get so surprised when I meet anyone who doesn't like hear about space or anything, because I think I got so accustomed to just be around people who are so obsessed with it. So yeah, I heard about it and I've been pretty excited about that because I do think that the moon doesn't get enough love for what it truly is.
Of my original plan with this project in 2019, whenever I started it, was to go and interview people at Starbucks on the street, just random people. And I've done that largely um, as well. And I would say of the non-space people, only about 20% of them know we're going to the moon. And I was wondering if that is also reflects your personal experience as well.
Yeah, because I don't even think it's been put out there as much. It's also the fact that we have so many issues going on um down here on earth that people just, they think about something like that, even if you tell them and they're like, why are we spending all this money doing that? Like for what is that gonna do? Like there are so many reasons why we should be doing these things. It's just hard to explain that to someone right on the spot, to them is more like, oh, so the moon is pretty and it's out there and we're going. Why? What's the point? Versus you having a full blown conversation um, within the field about why this matters in so many different levels. So yeah, I think they should speak more about it. There should be more social media about it. I don't think there's been a lot of talk. I mean, yeah, people know, but it's not as much really.
And you mentioned social media. I'm sure your feed and my feed on Twitter and Facebook and other places is filled with space stuff, but for most people, I imagine it's filled with other things. It really seems to keep feeding you information that it already thinks you're interested in.
And I wish it was like that. The algorithms are changing so much that when I log in now, I barely see anything about space. I have to actually chase it out because you have all these posts being pushed at you that oh, whatever's trending or whatever's popular or whatever. Oh, there's a lot of doom going on, and even though some of the doom is very important, like things that happen with government and things like that, I do like to break that pattern a bit. Like I need to be able to just have like all this excitement and people talking about space. You need that in your life. You kind of need that wonder.
Absolutely. So whenever you think about humanity like 200 years out, what does it look like to you, especially in respect to space travel and space settlements?
Well, I see the future of humanity pretty much reaching more and more for the stars. I mean, we're already doing that now. Um, I feel like in reality, we're kind of just like explorers at heart. I just think that not all of us can nourish that side of us because of, life and circumstances and stuff like that. But you talk to people about space, then you see how curious and excited they become. So I think it gets centralized to the field itself because you're working in this space, so like obviously you're going, no pun intended, you're going to get more excited about it by default sometimes. But I think we're just natural explorers. I think we're bound to keep going out there further and further. How far we're going to be able to go, I don't know. I'm one of those like, you know scientists and science lovers that I don't like making assumptions. Like people just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to this planet and that planet and we're gonna make it another earth. I don't know if it's the fact that I have some knowledge of how these things work and I just that's not that simple, or the fact that I like to see things more on a grounded base. Like yes, we are gonna keep exploring because that's just who we are. How far we're gonna take it, I'm not sure. I'm a little bit upset that I'm not gonna live long enough to see how far we're gonna take it, but we're definitely gonna keep going.
And if it was safe and affordable, would you take a trip to space?
Absolutely, that's been one of my main dreams. Like the moment I found out that women could study space and that we could become astronauts and all these other stuff, which, like I said, that was like non-existent for me growing up. Um, I didn't even know people have gone to the moon. Like that blew my mind when I first found that out. I would take it in a second. Like I actually trained to be able to do that. I don't know that it'll ever happen, but I am taking all the proper training for it. So
And so you mentioned that you would take a trip to the moon. Would you consider immigrating to Mars if that was an option?
uh I guess I would in some ways. I feel like if I was at a stage in my life where, let's say, I have a family and my family's well off, and this is something that is part of my career, but also my love of space and everything, yeah, I would totally do it. With Mars, is a little bit more complicated for me, things like farther like that, like Mars and the moon. Because for me, I would be okay just going to the ISS, to be honest. Like I just want to go to space. But going there will be more complicated because I know that it's not one of those things. Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Mars and just live like we're living here. I love this planet a lot. I'm very much a fan of air and nature and all that stuff. So I know it sounds really cool to just say, yeah, let's go to Mars, but from that to actually doing it and mentally being ready to handle something like that, that's very different, which is what I always tell people.
Yeah, I mean, like the Apollo 8 astronauts, from what I understand, they were really surprised to see the Earth as a sphere hovering in the middle of nothingness. And, the people that go to Mars, they're going to see something never seen before. That's the Earth actually disappearing. And I know it sounds like nothing, but I imagine it'd be have quite an effect on people that see that.
Yeah, like we can't, no matter what we think, we can't predict how our brains will react to something like that because we haven't really done it. So I feel like, yeah, that will be a pretty profound experience. I just don't know how we would react to it.
Hmm. So kind of turning things around a little bit. So imagine you are one of your descendants actually immigrates to Mars, and it's 200 years in the future, and now your great 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 granddaughter is on Mars, lived on Mars her entire life. She's in high school in a history class doing a project on the 2020s. What do you hope she could write about our time now?
I would love for that person to focus on how hard some of us are really trying to just be better as a species, because we are going through like really hard times and there's a lot about us that is not the greatest. So it's really easy to focus on those things. So I would hope that the focus will be more on the effort to that it was made by us now that got them to that point then.
That's that's awesome. I hope the same as well. that that what we're doing now would actually mean that there's somebody 200 years looking back at this time going, they were able to do it.
That would be so cool. And the thought of it also makes me a little sad, like I said, because you think about all these amazing things. You're like, I'm not gonna live to see that. I think that's like the worst thing about being into space so much that you love it and you want all these things to happen, but you also have to cope with the reality that you might not be able to see a lot of what's happening. I mean, we right now with space going so commercial, it's really cool. This is something I never even thought I was gonna see also before. It was just NASA. Like you want to go to space, it was NASA or nothing else, and now you have commercial space flight basically sending people up. And even though there are differences between what NASA does and what this is, it does make it more, it makes it feel more reachable for people, which might get people more excited, and that's important. So
Yeah, definitely. I think in the 1960s, most people thought it was just a matter of time before they personally could take a moon trip. That that's what things were building up to.
yeah, if you look at our history, I mean, It only takes to go, like when you go to the Air and Space Museum in DC and you look at these early planes and stuff like that, and then right there they're also showing you the rockets, and you think about our history as humans, and but to me it always kind of just blows my mind that we're able to just keep moving forward like that, even with all the conflict that we have as a species and everything through different societies and generations and everything like that. We still manage to move forward technologically and do these things. It's just amazing to me. Like, we are capable of a lot. We just need to focus more on that.
It is. It's true. Well, Rose, thank you so much for talking to me. I know we covered a lot of topics, but is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
No, I just want people to love the moon a little more. I know people like the moon and they know, but I think they take it for granted. They don't realize just how important it is, how beautiful it is, how much it can actually inspire. I would love very much for people to hear more about it, become a little more aware of this just beautiful thing. I mean, we have an astronomical body just sitting right there, the closest thing. Yeah, we can see a lot of stars, we can see a lot of things, but the moon is right there. It's something you almost feel like you can touch. And that feeling is amazing. I don't know how to explain that to people sometimes.
Well, thank you so much, Rose, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.